What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Panda here. Today we're going to be talking about summons. I know you guys are probably pretty disappointed in the Boreas nerf that happened really recently, but that is okay because this weekend we have probably one of the best mages in the game coming to a 15x, including a brand new champion to the game, Edith, a Watcher tank. Let's dive right in. And welcome back, guys. Like I said, we have a new announcement for the brand new summon event that's happening this weekend that includes two brand new heroes. Technically, I think one of them has actually been out for a little while, but this is a 15x for that hero, which is pretty interesting. I don't know if it's worth going in fully for her because of some of the changes that are coming to the game very soon. However, we do have one of the best mages in the game and a brand new tank, and let's go look at it. Here it is, the Special Invocation and Divine Summons with Esme, which is a brand new Piercer faction champion who has the ability to poison. And that's why I say I don't think that this is necessarily a reason to go in. I think I might summon just a little bit to see if I can get my hands on at least one Esme, just because I like to have all of them. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. It is saying here that she is a devoted ally of Nyx. I can definitely see that. She looks very similar to Nyx in design. Which is cool. I like that. Nyx was one of my first legendaries I ever got, and I do love her kit. I think she's a lot of fun, so Esme looks cool, matches that sort of aesthetic. But we do have the talent that gives a 50% chance of bouncing to an extra target with a 30% chance of inflicting poison on that target. Then we have a basic that deals damage prioritizing airborne units, an ultimate that increases damage by 45% and each basic attack lands 2 consecutive strikes instead. The second strike will attack a random enemy in range. That's pretty nice. Then we have the passive. This is when the basic attack kills targets inflicted with poison. It deals 60% AoE damage up to 5 targets. So this is an interesting kit. You know, some poison is always good. Getting some AoE damage makes a lot of sense. She could potentially be someone maybe to handle like the left side of Gear Raid 3, for example, right? She could potentially take the place of Nyx if you don't have a Nyx. I don't know what her damage looks like, and, you know, etc. But the 60% AoE damage that does go up to 100% AoE damage could potentially be enough. We'll have to see. Let's look at her Awakens. Venomous Eruption inflicts stun upon the targets. So that's actually really cool as well. So this is actually going to make it even better, potentially, to help in Gear Raid 3 because you're also applying some CC, which could be really nice for sort of like keeping them busy. Then we have the A2 giving 5% crit rate, making it easier to build. And then the A3 increases the chance of basic attack to bounce by 25%. So that's actually really good. If we go and we look, this is a 50% chance to bounce. So it's a 50% increase to that by making it 75% in total, which is really nice. Then we have the A4 for 5% penetration, and the A5 increasing the crit rate of basic attack by 50% against targets inflicted with poison. This feels like it's probably pretty good, but also like the chance to poison seems pretty low, right? It's only a 30% chance to poison. So I don't know how reliable that's going to be. But it is potentially a way to sort of build her with less stats, right? You could theoretically build her with only 50% crit rate and rely on poisoning the enemies in order to get that last 50%. But we'll have to see. Then we have Yonkar on here. Yonkar's okay. I'm not going to talk about him. Same thing with Brunor. Not the greatest. Don't worry about those two. Esme's the one that's kind of interesting in this epic category, just because she's relatively new to the game. A lot of people probably don't have her yet. So I know I might throw, you know, like I think I have a divine summon, so I might throw a divine summon into her or into this banner. And if I get lucky and pull Esme, Comet, or Edith, then awesome. But we'll have to see. Then we have, of course, our guy Comet here, the Pharaoh of Decay, the original OG DPS for Gear Raid 3 and many, many other places. Very strong damage dealer. Very strong damage dealer. He is under the Esotericist faction, which means he benefits from a lot of really cool stuff, you know, including the Lord skill of increase of reducing faction cost ally skills by 25%, as well as increasing the damage of other faction team members when an ally is defeated or retreats from our boy Cyrus. If you have Venoma, it's similar, but it's just 30% rage on first deployment, which is really, really good, especially when you look at someone like Comet, who has a kind of ridiculously expensive ultimates. So really nice. We love that. Comet is a fantastic champion. Talent here, Obliteration Strike deals 400% extra high damage to enemies who have not been attacked. So Obliteration Strike is I thought it was a thing, but yeah, so it's just what it's called. The talent is called Obliteration Strike. My apologies. I don't have Comet. I'm not familiar with the kit. I know he does a lot of AoE damage, but let's continue going in. So we have the basic attack that just deals damage to 2 enemies. We love that. We have the ultimate. So the ultimate is one of the things that's really, really good about him because it actually extends his range, which is really nice. And it deals a ton of AoE damage for 15 seconds. It actually goes up to 20 seconds, and it deals 400% AoE damage, so it's very, very powerful. Then we have the passive. For every 7 attacks applies Curse to the enemy target. The next attack to an enemy target with Curse can trigger Obliteration Strike again. So this goes up to down to 5 attacks that apply Curse, and it goes from 2 seconds up to 4 seconds that it's active, which is really cool. Then we have the Infernal Plague. Upon killing a target, the hero's attack will bounce off to 2 enemy targets, dealing more magic damage. So this is really good because Comet is going to deal large chunks of big AoE damage, and it's going to hit multiple people, obviously, because it's AoE. And if you happen to kill like a smaller enemy in that process, it's going to deal even more damage, which could trigger it to deal even more damage and more damage and more damage. This is why Comet's really, really good in Gear Raid 3, because there's a lot of enemies that are actually very small and can be killed off rather quickly, allowing you to deal consistent damage to those big targets over time. Then we have the Awakens here. So A1 allows the Infernal Plague to bounce to an additional target. This is nice. A2 gives us 5% attack. A3 increases the ultimate's attack range. Also really nice. A4 gives us an additional rage regen auto, and A5, when dealing damage, Infernal Plague inflicts curse on the target. Now this is really good because of the fact that we have the passive here, where if you're attacking a target with curse, you get to trigger the passive again, which is a large chunk of damage. So that's really nice. If you happen to get a Comet all the way to A5, he is a nuke. Then we have the brand new champion, Edith. This is the one I want to go most in depth about because it's a brand new champion to the game. Comet's been around basically since the conception of the game, as far as I'm aware. Definitely been around since I started playing. But we have this brand new tank, Edith, from the Watcher faction. She is a centaur, which is really cool. She's got this pretty awesome lance, and still some big braids, lots of golden armor. Pretty cool looking. She is a defender, and this is something I've noticed a lot is we have been getting a lot of defenders, right? If we go and we look and just see what our defenders look like here, we can just scroll down here. Let's look at all the new defenders we've gotten. So Crodor, brand new defender. Trusk, brand new defender. Jorge is a brand new defender. And then, of course, we have this new champion, Edith, who is also a brand new defender. So we've had a lot of new defenders coming to the game recently. Say defender 10 times fast. Type defender in the comments because I just said that a million times. While you're at it, hit that sub button. We're trying to hit 5K. I'd really appreciate it. But let's talk about Edith's kit. So Edith's talent is all damage dealt scales off of defense. This is another really common thing that's been happening is we're getting a lot of champions that deal damage based off of defense. Most of them are tanks, which makes sense. But I'm really curious why we're having this sort of trend. It makes me question of what new content could be coming to the game where you want low HP and high defense, perhaps. Like maybe we're going to be getting some opponents that deal max HP % damage, and it can be defended by defense, and so having a high defense and a low HP is going to be really, really good. But I don't know. We'll have to see. When deployed, immediately gain 2 stacks of Equine Aegis. Equine Aegis, when taking damage, consumes 1 stack of it to reduce the damage by 30%. So that's kind of cool. It's just like it's sort of like a defense buff that you get stacks of, and then in each stack of it increases damage dealt and healing received by 10%. The hero can have up to 5 stacks, so that's pretty nice. So you can get up to 50% damage increase and 50% healing received. Pretty interesting passive for sure. You start off with 2. The big thing though is that if you take damage, you lose a stack. So it's going to be an interesting sort of back and forth. Hopefully the rest of the kit also provides the buff. Basic attack just deals physical damage. Okay, perfect. ultimate here, when the skill is activated, each attack deals 150% AoE damage and up to 8 enemies in range, lasting for 15 seconds. The first 2 basic attacks during each ultimate will knock back the enemies with 2 times strength. So that's pretty cool. As you can see here, we're throwing the enemies back, which is pretty interesting. You know, that I said sort of in a, I don't know if it was in this video or the previous video, I'm already forgetting, but I said that I didn't think Edith was going to be that great for the Immortal Codex, but having a knockback could potentially help. It could be potentially viable. I'm not sure because, you know, they do have a lot of health, but I could see some potential situations where this is good. I don't think she's going to outdo any of the current best tanks that we have. Which I think is probably really what I meant when I was saying that I don't think she's going to be great in Codex, is she's not going to be better than the current champions that I have. But she could be better than potentially someone, say, like Baron, you know, or if you have, like, Livian as one of your tanks. She's probably going to do better than one of those tanks. Then we have the passive here, which is gain 1 stack of the buff. Nice. Every 40 seconds. Whenever the hero knocks back an enemy, the skill's cooldown is really reduced by 1 second. So this gives us this 2, 4, 6, 10 seconds. This goes down to 30 seconds. And the first 2 basic attacks during each ultimate will knock back the enemies with 2x strength. So if you happen to hit 8 enemies with this, you're going to be reducing 8 cooldown on this twice, right? Because it's the first 2 basic attacks. So you could potentially knock this down to 14 seconds, which is pretty good if you're hitting 8 enemies, which realistically, there's not many places where you're going to be hitting 8 enemies. So I don't know how great this is. And it's only 1 stack of the passive, or sorry, of the talent. So maybe this other talent gives us more. Let's see. If the hero takes no damage, increase defense by 3% and physical damage reduction by 3% every 6 seconds up to 15. The effect disappears upon taking damage. Okay, so that's not that great. Yeah. I don't know. She feels meh, in my opinion. Of course, I haven't seen her in action. Maybe she really is very good, but I don't know. She doesn't seem to be super, super strong, in my personal opinion. I could see her being used in some niche cases where you just need to stall enemies just a little bit longer, and having her ultimate to knock people back could potentially be very beneficial. Of course, I think she's going to be very good for things such as faction trial, because if we go to the Watchguard, you know, there's only so many tanks that we have, right? We have Regulus, we have technically Constance, but you build her attack, you don't build her as an actual tank. Mariel's the same thing. And then we have Livian, who's not the greatest. Okay, we have Evelyn, who is really good, but she could theoretically be very interesting here. We do also have, like, the Lord bonus from the Watcher faction, which does periodically increase damage and healing multiplier. You know, theoretically, there is some cool potential here. I don't know how exciting she looks. My personal opinion is, I don't think this is a banner you should be summoning on unless you are brand new to the game or very early on to the game and you don't have a good mage. I think potentially going in for Comet could be really good. But other than that, I don't really know if it's worth it. If you have one of the other mages in the game, right? Like, let's go down to mages here real quick. If you have a, you know, an Ajax, you know, or even a Kriya, I don't really know if it's worth going in on this banner. Comet is better than Kriya in most, if not all, situations, but at the same time, going in for Comet on this banner, maybe not the best option. I'm not sure. I think this is really going to be a your choice type thing. I personally don't think I'm going to go, and the reason is because I have Vierna. And Vierna does everything I need Vierna to do. I also have Morrigan to pair with Vierna, and I don't currently have an Esotericist Lord, well, Legendary Lord, to pair with Comet. If I were to get my hands on a Cyrus, potentially Comet would be better in most situations, but I just really like Vierna. I have her bond skill, you know, which is not crazy, but it's nice. I don't know. I feel like it's a good banner. I think it's a good banner for you if you don't currently have access to some good mages. But I don't think Edith is really good enough, in my personal opinion, to go in and have the potential of pulling Edith over Comet. Now, if you go in and you pull a Comet, sweet, stop. Don't go any further, you know, because she doesn't seem all that great. Let's quickly look at her awakens and see if it maybe changes my mind. Her A1 does look good because you're getting 2 extra stacks, so you're actually spawning with 4 stacks. I think it's also probably fair to assume that this passive starts on cooldown. I would assume. Maybe not, but I would assume it starts on cooldown. So you're not going to start with 5 stacks, right? If this started and it gave you a stack right away, then you could start with 5 stacks. Then I could theoretically see that being really good, because then you have a decent chunk of time to get this to come back up, allowing you to maybe get hit once or twice. You get a stack of this back up, and then you use your ultimate, and you're able to get this back up for more stacks, where it could theoretically be really good. Then we have the A2, which gives flat defense. That's okay. A3, each stack of Equine Aegis grants 4% extra defense. Again, this is good if you can keep the stacks up. And because the stacks disappear when you take damage, you know, it doesn't seem all that great to me. Like, this is theoretically 20% additional defense. But as soon as you take damage, you're going to lose that defense. You're going to lose that you know, that stack. So I'm not sure. E4 is all damage reduction 8%. A5, when Equine Aegis is generated by shield recharge, there's a 50% chance to grant to the ally with the lowest HP percentage within 2 tiles. Each ally can have up to 1 stack of Aegis. Okay, so this is actually interesting. This right here kind of changes my thoughts here. Again, we're talking about a legendary at A5. Unless you're whaling, you're not going to pull 6 copies of Edith without some crazy, insane, ridiculous luck. Even if you were to pull, say, for example, 5 copies of Edith, it's not worth a soul stone to get this to A5. You're better off using your soul stones on other champions that are for sure better, and definitely in multiple game modes, because again, I don't foresee Edith taking over for any of the current tanks that we have access to. However, if you get this later on, A5 Edith does sound like it could be something pretty beneficial in certain situations, because of the fact that this could give you... actually, no, it couldn't give you damage increase, because this is only... it's only the talent that gives it. So actually, no, never mind. This doesn't change my mind. I mean, the 30% damage reduction is nice on a big hit. But I was thinking it was going to give you the 10% damage dealt, which I'm going to assume it doesn't give, because it's in the talent, not on the actual skill itself, or on the buff itself. So either way, I think that Edith is interesting. If you pull her, cool. If you're going for Comet, all for it. I think Comet is a great champion. He's going to do wonders for you if you don't currently have a strong mage. But if you have your hands on someone already in that mage category that makes sense and is good, I don't think this is really a banner that makes sense to go in on, because I think even Boreas, I think, is good enough. Even though he's been nerfed, he's still good enough to clear things like Gear Raid 3, which I think is important. I mean, Kriya clears Gear Raid 3 with a little bit of help. So, and she is kind of terrible, right? So ultimately, I think Comet's great. Go in on the banner if you really want Comet, if you don't have, you know, a big mage on your account already. But other than that, I think it makes more sense to hold off for a better champion. Defenders are very, very, very low on priority because they're not used a lot. And when I say that, I mean, it doesn't really matter what defender you have for most game modes, right? For example, if you're going and you're looking at Void Rift, you need 2, maybe 3 defenders, but most of the time it's only 2 defenders, and realistically, Olag, who you get for free, can be one of those defenders. So I don't think summoning for Edith is really that big of a game changer for you. Same thing in Immortal Codex, right? Like, yes, you do need 6 tanks to make the Immortal Codex make sense. You know, but I just don't foresee it making a lot of sense, because it's not super crazy, you know, to build some of it. It could be any champion is what I'm trying to get at here. It could be any champion. And I don't think that it needs to be Edith, right? And also, because of the fact that you get Olag for free. Crodor we just had for free. So if you're watching this video way down the line and you pull an Edith, cool, right? Because Edith is interesting, and she could fit in some places if you don't have access to Crodor, for example. If you don't have access to Reeve, for example, she could fit in here. But getting your hands, I mean, if we go and look at just my tanks in general, like, let's go look at mine. I've been playing for 6 months, a little over 6 months, and let's look at my defenders. And you'll see here, right, I have a ton of defenders, right? So right off of the bat, let's not include any legendaries. Let's just look at epics. Let's just look at epics, right? So Avalyn, the best epic in the game for Immortal Codex. Isolde, a legendary, or sorry, an epic lord, but still a 4-star. It's an epic, right? Pretty reliably easy to get, in comparison to a legendary. And you know, she's going to do wonders. She also has the Lord for Northerner, which is going to pair really well with your Avalyn and really well with your Olag, which again, you get Olag for free, right? So that's 3 right there in the epic category. Baron is a fantastic tank. He's going to do wonders for you in Immortal Codex. He's not as good as some of the legendaries, but he does work. He does fit in that situation. Then we have someone like Jorge. Jorge potentially works as well, right? He's not the craziest in the world. He's not going to be super amazing. He's kind of more of a DPS sort of tank, but he does work. He does fit there, you know? It's possible to use him without really too many issues. But even if you were to get your hands on Livian, who is a fusible champion, she fits in this place as well. Same thing with Titus. Titus has actually been used in some of the higher end comps for a while there, up until we had, you know, Crodor and some other people added into the pool. So realistically, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 epics right here that are going to be able to do Immortal Codex. If you get your hands on even one of these legendary tanks, you know, a Regulus, which is one of the, I believe, the most common legendary to pull in the game, so there's a good chance you're gonna have one, that right there can replace your Titus, right? Then if you get your hands on one more, like if you played now and you have Crodor, well, that can replace, you know, your Baron or your Livian, right? All I'm saying here is I think Edith is good. I think she's going to have some viability in some locations, but I don't think she's someone that you need to summon for right now. It just doesn't make sense. But guys, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Make sure to leave a comment down below with, are you going to be summoning this weekend for Edith, Comet, or Esme in this brand new 15x banner? And don't forget to hit that sub button because we are pushing for 5K subscribers by the end of the year. I really appreciate it. Share this video with your family, with your guild, with all your friends, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.